Hello, am I audible now?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Uh, in the morning, I have sent one question bank to you based on the stress and strain. Today, we'll solve that few questions from that. Okay. After the elementary introduction about the stress and strain and about the subject strength of material, we have studied that the stress is internal resisting force per unit area, and it is calculated by external applied force here upon the resisting area, which is the cross-sectional area. If the external applied force is tensile in nature, the stresses are tensile. If the external applied force is compressive, then the induced stresses are compressive in nature. Okay. So stress equal to P upon A, and unit is Newton per meter square, or Pascal, megapascal, gigapascal. You know how to convert all these things. Then the strain. Strain is the change in dimension to the original dimension. Since we are studying right now only the linear strain or the longitudinal strain. Linear strain or longitudinal strain is the change in linear dimension to the original linear dimension. Linear dimension means the dimensions in the direction of applied force. Okay. So here we are applying the force axially. Okay. Any difficulty? Whose mic is on? Mute your mic. Arya Matre. Okay. So when we apply the axial force, yeah, then this length is the dimension in the direction of the applied force. Clear? So this becomes the linear dimension, whereas the dimension perpendicular to the line of action, for example, this dimension. Okay. So this is the lateral dimension. Okay. So right now we have to study only linear strain. So strain is equal to delta L upon L, change in length upon original length. Then we know that the within elastic limit, the ratio of stress to the strain is known as the modulus of elasticity. Okay. Then when axial force is acting Omkar Sawant, mute your mic. So when a rod is subjected to an axial force, here, and if the cross-sectional area is uniform, then because of this axial force, there will be some deformation. This deformation is delta L. And E is the modulus of elasticity for this material, which is one of the property. Most of the time it is known to you. Or for a new material, for a unknown material, if you want to calculate, you have to conduct that stress and strain test, or that is the tensile test. Okay. Now, if E is the modulus of elasticity and if the applied force is P, then this delta L you can calculate by combining all these three formulas here. So, direct formula is delta L equal to PL upon AE. Just by combining all these three formulas, we can get this clear. But this formula, yesterday's lecture, I told you that this formula is applicable only when the cross-sectional area is uniform throughout the length L. This formula can be written as stress into L upon E. P upon A can be written as stress, so it is stress into L upon E. In this way, we can calculate this change in length. Then, about the yield stress. Yield stress. How can you get the yield stress? It is the load at the yielding point. Load at yield point to the original cross-sectional area. Okay, then ultimate stress. Ultimate stress equal to the load, maximum load. Ultimate stress is also known as the maximum stress. It is the maximum load upon the original cross-sectional area. Okay, in this way we can calculate the yield stress and the ultimate stress. Then the next point is the factor of safety. How can you calculate the factor of safety? Actually, this is most of the sum, this is given, or when we consider the design point of view, the design engineer has to decide this factor. And what is the importance of this factor? By using this factor, we can get the working stress or the design stress. Working stress or design stress is the stress here which is supposed to be induced during the service period of that particular component. Here, design stress or working stress we cannot calculate this way. Here, that we have to decide. That value can vary. This value will not vary for that particular material. Yield stress will not vary for that particular material. Your ultimate stress will not vary for that particular material. But the working stress may vary depending on the external applied force. Okay. So this factor of safety is defined as yield stress. It is a ratio of yield stress to the working stress or the design stress. On the basis of yield stress, here when we calculate, then this formula we have to use for the ductile material. Okay, because for ductile material, when the yielding starts, we can say that it is a failure of the material. Then for the brittle material, we can write factor of safety at the ultimate stress, because in brittle material, there is no well-defined yield point. That's why we can consider it as the ultimate stress. So ultimate stress upon working stress. This is for the brittle material. Okay, so don't get confused between the yield stress, ultimate stress, working stress. Here, then there is one again allowable stress. Allowable stress. Okay, allowable, or it is also known as a permissible stress. Permissible stress. Okay, working stress and allowable stress. Allowable stress is what? Or again, it is one is the induced stress. Okay, this value, working stress, allowable stress, induced stress may vary. Okay, but yield stress and ultimate stress will not vary. Here I told you that the working stress is the actual stress induced in the material during its service period. Okay, here on the basis of this working stress or safe stress, we calculate the design. But to that design component, here if I apply some force, and if that force varies, sometimes it may go beyond the allowable value. Okay, so the induced stress will be different. So that stress which is actually induced because of the external applied force is the induced stress. Okay, and allowable stress or the permissible stress is the stress which is supposed to be allowed to induce in the material without any failure. Okay, most of the time the allowable stress and working stress and design stress are same. And this much stress is allowed to induce. In any circumstances, the stress induced should not go beyond that value of allowable stress. Here, I told you that if the induced stress goes beyond the allowable stress, so for any particular material, this is the design stress or working stress, or you can say it as an allowable stress. This much stress value is allowed to induce in that particular material. Okay, but if the external applied force is more, then the induced stress will go beyond allowable value. Yeah, but it is not expected that the induced stress should go beyond the allowable value. It should be always within the allowable value. But if it happens, here immediately the material will not fail. Here because of this factor of safety. Okay, so when we'll solve the sums, here you will be more comfortable with all this terminology. What is allowable stress, what is induced stress, what is the working stress, and all these things. Yep. Now let's solve the questions. Okay, refer that question then given to you. The PDF which I sent to you, in that PDF page number 4, the sum number 1. Sum number 1. Okay, it is given that a rod 200 centimeter long of diameter 3 centimeter is subjected to an axial pull of 30 kilonewton. Now a force applied is the axial, and what is the nature? Nature is a pull type of force, means it is a tensile force. If the Young's modulus of material of the rod is 2 into 10 raised to 5 Newton per millimeter square, here modulus of elasticity is also known as the Young's modulus. It is one and the same thing. Determine the stress, strain and elongation of the rod. Okay, so if required, you can draw the figure. This is one rod. It is subjected to an axial tensile force P. This is the length. Here cross-sectional area. Okay, now write down the given data. The rod of 200 centimeter long, L equal to 200 centimeter. Diameter is 3 centimeter. And it is subjected to an axial pull P equal to 30 kilonewton. This is the given data. Young's modulus is given, E equal to, it is 2 into 10 raised to 5. Actually it is visible as a 3, but actually consider it as a 5. 2 into 10 raised to 5 Newton per millimeter square. This is the standard value of the modulus of elasticity for the mild steel, 2 into 10 raised to 5. Sometime it may be 1.8, sometime it may go 2.1. Okay, but this is a standard value for the mild steel, 2 into 10 raised to 3 9. So let's take 2 into 10 raised to 5 Newton per millimeter square. There is a misprint. We have to calculate the stress, we have to calculate the strain, and we have to calculate the change in length because of this axial force. Here, we have to calculate all these things. To calculate the stress and E, we require the cross-sectional area. Now, cross-sectional area is not given directly, instead of diameter is given. So let's calculate the area, which is equal to pi by 4 into 3 square. Pi by 4 into d square. Diameter is 3 centimeters, so pi by 4 into 3 square, you will get the area. But now here, you will observe that here E is given is in Newton, P is in kilonewton, whereas these dimensions are in centimeter. Okay, here for calculation of the stress and strain, it doesn't make any difference, but for calculation of the delta L, here I told you that you have to convert the dimensions. Okay, either convert all the dimensions in Newton and millimeter, or convert this Newton per millimeter square into kilonewton per centimeter square. Okay, so better will convert it into millimeter and Newton. Here, so this is 200 centimeter means 2000 millimeter. Here, and area will be pi by 4 into 30 square. Millimeter square. So I have converted that in millimeter. This 30 kilonewton equal to 30 into 10 raised to 3 Newton. I suggest convert it in millimeter and Newton instead of converting this into kilonewton per meter square. Okay. Now after calculation all these things, here calculate the stress, which is equal to T upon A. Directly substitute the value and get the answer. Strain equal to delta L upon L. But delta L is not known. Delta L is not known. Means here delta L is also unknown and strain is also unknown. So what is other way? Instead of using this formula right now, you can calculate the E, you can use the E equal to stress upon strain. Stress you have calculated, E value is given. From this one you will get the small e, and with the help of that small e you can calculate the delta L. Okay, that is one method. The other method is that what I will suggest, use this formula delta L, deformation of the material is equal to, it is PL upon AE. Everything is known to you, PL, A and E. All these terms are known to you, values are known to you, just substitute to get the value. Remember one thing, in this formula, the equation should be dimensionally homogeneous. Means if this P is in Newton, E must be in Newton. If L and A are in millimeter, then E must be in Newton per millimeter square. Okay, so equation should be dimensionally homogeneous. Here, now substitute the value, you will get this delta L. Since we are considering this L and A in terms of millimeter, so this change in length will also be in millimeter. So you'll get this delta L, and then with the help of this delta L, you can calculate the strain. You can calculate it as a delta L upon L, or you can calculate E equal to stress upon strain and strain equal to stress upon E. This way also you can calculate. Okay. Here, calculate and check all the values. Two minutes to you, do the calculation. Got the answer? Stress is 42.44 and E is 0.9. 0000212. Unmute yourself and tell me. Tell me the answer. Press calculated. Nobody has calculated. Are you present in the class or sleeping? Hello?
Yes, sir.
We have calculated.
Calculated?
Sir, calculated.
Okay. Tell me the answer.
Sir, rho is equal to 42.44.
Listen to me. Just 1 minute. Rahul. Rahul is talking. Huh? Who is talking? Who is there?
Sir, Rahul.
Okay.
Rahul.
Listen. From today, जो भी लेक्चर में होगा, जो भी सम्स होगा, yeah, by 3 o'clock you have to scan, make a PDF and upload on the Google Classroom against your roll number. Okay, here I'll give the instructions on the WhatsApp group, but daily you have to submit this classwork. Whatever you have solved here and whatever homework is there, you have to solve and submit on the classroom. Understood? The student who will submit the classwork and homework, यार उनका ही अटेंडेंस लगेगा, बाकी लोगों का अटेंडेंस नहीं लगेगा. Okay. Tell me, Rahul, how much is the stress?
42.4444 Newton millimeter.
Newton per millimeter square. Newton millimeter.
Newton per.
Strain.
2.11.
2.11
into 10 raised to minus 4.
Minus 4. Okay. Strain has no unit. And change in length?
Sir, वो calculating. Final.
Calculate.
Sir, change in length 0.424.
0.424 millimeter. Okay. It is 424 millimeter.
Yes.
Is it millimeter or centimeter? In answer it is given that 0.424 centimeter. I'm not sure about that given answer. It is millimeter. Okay, fine. So second sum. Second sum. What is given? A hollow steel tube is used to carry the compressive load of 140 kilonewton. The yield stress is 250 Newton per millimeter square for the given material. The material which is used for the steel tube, for that particular material, the yield stress is given. It is 250 Newton per millimeter square. And that tube we have to use there. On that tube, a compressive load of 140 kilonewton is applied. A factor of safety is 1.75 is to be used. Okay, yield stress is given and factor of safety is given. Yield stress is given and factor of safety is given. Means it is the ductile material. Here we have to use this formula. Okay. The yield stress is 250 Newton per millimeter square. A factor of safety is 1.75 is to be used. The following 3 class tubes of external diameter 101.6 millimeter are available as shown in the table. Which section do you recommend? Okay, listen to me. You have to use one tube for a certain application. It is a hollow circular tube. Okay, it's a hollow circular tube. Internal diameter, external diameter. Okay, internal diameter is what is given. External diameter is given. The following class, 3 class of the external diameter 101.6 millimeter. External diameter is given. This external diameter is 101.6 millimeter. External diameter is given. This tube is subjected to some compressive load. Yeah, this compressive load is equal to, the compressive load on that particular tube is equal to 140 kilonewton, 140 into 10 raised to 3 Newton. Okay, and yield stress is given. Listen, this is not the stress because of this force. It is the yield stress. It is the property of that material. Yield stress is given, which is 250 Newton per millimeter square. Okay, and factor of safety is given as 1.75. Factor of safety equal to 1.75. Okay, the following 3 class of tubes of external diameter 101.6 millimeter are available as shown in the figure. Which section do you recommend? Here for this particular situation, for all the 3 different classes are available in the market. For all the 3 tubes, the external diameter is 101.6 millimeter only. Okay, but the thickness varies. Okay, we are in the local market also. If you go here, if you ask 1 inch pipe, okay, you will get a different class of 1 inch pipe. Yeah, its external diameter is remain 1 inch. Yeah, but the internal diameter varies. Means thickness varies. Here some are light, some are heavy. Okay, for heavy material, here this thickness will be more. Means cross-sectional area will be more. For the lightweight, the thickness is less. Okay, so in local market they refer it as a class A, class B, class C. Okay, so here for this particular application, you have to recommend which tube you are going to use. Okay, for all the 3 different tubes are available in the market. For all the 3 tubes, the external diameter is same. It is 101.6 millimeter. And which 3 tubes, which 3 classes are available? Here 3 different classes are available. Here the light class, whose external diameter is 101, but the thickness is 3.65. Then the medium one, medium whose thickness is 4.05. 4.05, this is the thickness. And for heavy, it is 4.85. These thicknesses are given. Okay. For this particular application, so this load is coming for the material, yield stress is given corresponding to this factor of safety. Here you have to recommend out of these 3 tubes, which tube you will recommend. Okay, while recommendation of the any tube out of the 3 or for any particular component, you have to see all the factors. This one thing, that particular dimension should be safe for that particular application. One thing. Second thing, it should be there should not be a wastage of material. Here, if you use unnecessarily the heavy material, okay, the costing will increase. Okay, so it should be economical also. Unnecessarily, we should not use a heavy material. If you unnecessarily use a heavy material, it will be safe for that particular application. Okay, but because of that heaviness, here there will be some other disadvantages. Here, some unnecessarily stresses will induce because of that. Okay, that's why you have to use the appropriate dimensions component. Here, so here for this particular application, you have to recommend out of these 3 which tube you will recommend. Okay, so for that, what we are going to do for this particular application, we'll check how much should be the safe thickness. we are going to calculate the safe thickness कि कितना minimum safe thickness चाहिए for this particular application with the given condition, with the given factor of safety and all these things. Okay, and from that safe thickness what we have calculated, here we compare with this which are available, and according to that we will select. Okay, so first we'll calculate for this particular application to sustain this much load with this much yield stress and factor of safety, what should be the required thickness. Okay, here so here it is the external diameter D, internal diameter let it is small d, and this is the thickness. Remember, whenever such type of case is there, here hollow tube is there, then this thickness can be written as, or here I can write down this capital D equal to small d plus 2t. This capital D equal to small d plus 2t. Don't write D, capital D equal to D plus t. It is not only D plus t, it is capital D equal to small d plus 2t. That is, we can write t equal to, it is d minus d upon 2. Remember this. So we'll first calculate for this given application what should be the safe thickness, and then we'll compare that thickness with this. Okay. Then here one thing before starting, don't do like that. Directly we will use this yield stress and this P upon A. You will get this area here, and then compare the with the help of this area calculate the thickness. Okay, but this thickness you will get, but this thickness you will get with on the basis of yield stress here, but means corresponding to this load, when we will use this thickness here, the induced stress will be the yield stress, and at yield stress yielding will start and it may fail. Here it may not work satisfactorily. Understood? So we have we are not supposed to design this. We are not supposed to calculate the thickness on the basis of the yield stress. So factor of safety is given. With the help of that factor of safety, we will calculate the working stress or the safe stress. And by using that working stress and safe stress, here with the help of that, we are going to calculate the safe thickness or safe dimension. Okay, here, so here we know that this factor of safety equal to yield stress upon safe stress. Okay, so this safe stress equal to, it is yield stress is 250 upon 1.75. From this one you will get the safe stress, and with the help of this safe stress, ये जो safe stress we have calculated, it must be within this elastic limit. यहाँ पे आएगा ये safe stress. This value will be somewhere here for that particular material. Yes, means unfortunately, accidentally, sometimes if the load goes beyond 140 kilonewton, the induced stress will be from here to here. Means it will not fail. It will not go up to the yield stress. Okay. Here, that's why we are calculating the safe stress, and with the help of the safe stress, जो thickness calculate करेंगे, that will be the safe thickness. Understood? Tell me how much is the safe stress? 250 divided by 1.75.
142.8, sir.
0.8 Newton per millimeter square. Okay, 85. Okay. I listen once again. In first year, I told number of times. Here, write your answer only 2 digits after the decimal point. Okay, but don't slice that answer. Here, after 2 digits, don't slice the answer. You round up, and better you know how to round up that. Yes, always you have to tell me the answer only up to 2 digits after the decimal point with rounding. Okay. Then next, we calculate this safe stress. Here, then with the help of this safe stress, we will calculate the safe area first. Okay. So we know that this safe stress equal to P upon A. The safe stress is 142.85. Don't take here yield stress. Yield stress से भी आपका answer आएगा, but that will not be the safe with this factor of safety. Okay. Here, so 142.85, which is equal to P. It is 140 into 10 raised to 3 upon area. From this one you will get the area in millimeter square. Calculate and tell me.
980.05
980.05
millimeter square.
millimeter square. Okay, means for this particular application corresponding to this condition, the safe area is 980.05 millimeter square. Now, corresponding to this safe area, we will calculate the thickness. Here, so with the help of this area, I will calculate the internal diameter of that particular tube. Okay, so we know that A equal to, it is pi by 4 into d square, capital D square minus small d square. Substitute the value, you will get the small d, this is the internal diameter. Area is known to you, 980.05, which is equal to pi by 4 into external diameter is 101.6 square minus d square. Calculate and tell me how much is the diameter. Internal diameter. How much is that?
$95.26.
94.95,
95, sir.
261
261.
millimeter. This should be the diameter. This should be the safe diameter corresponding to that. But the available specimen, the available tubes, their thickness are given. So with help of this design diameter, internal diameter, will calculate how much is the safe thickness. Clear? So safe thickness required. Safe thickness T equal to capital D minus small d upon 2. Have you understood how we got this formula? It is just simple. Relation between the thickness and internal diameter and external diameter. So how much is this? Thickness. (101.6) minus small d 95.261.
3.17.
3.17.
3.17 millimeter. So for this application, corresponding to this given properties, corresponding to this given conditions here, minimum thickness कितना चाहिए हम लोगों को? We require 3.17 millimeter. मिनिमम इतना थिकनेस चाहिए, इससे कम नहीं चलेगा. इससे ज्यादा आप कितना भी यूज कर सकते हैं, जो भी अवेलेबल होगा वो कितना भी यूज कर सकते हैं, लेकिन इससे कम नहीं चलेगा. Clear? Now just compare this thickness with the available quantity. Okay, so we'll observe that we have the 3 classes, and in that one, this light class is having the thickness of 3.65. Okay, we required 3.17, and this available thickness is 3.65, which is greater than this. Even if we use this light class for our application, it will be more stronger than what we require. We require the thickness of only 3.17, but the available is 3.65. इससे नीचे वाला है ही नहीं. If there would have been availability of the any tube having the thickness 3.3, we would have recommended that 3.3 because our requirement is only 3.17. Okay, so which recommended class is there? Here for this particular application, here we can recommend a light class of thickness 3.65. Understood? Okay. Now, for example, suppose instead of this 3.17, if I would have get the answer of 3.8 millimeter for this particular application, let a safe thickness required is 3.8 millimeter. Okay. Now, this much minimum thickness I required for that particular application. Okay. Now, if I use this thickness here 3.8, here you will observe that what are the availability when light class is available with 3.65. Now, if I use this 3.65, which will be less than this 3.8, okay, it may fail. Its thickness is less, its cross-sectional area is less, and since the less cross-sectional area is there, the more stresses will induce when we apply this 140 kilonewton force. Okay, here, so if the thickness would have been 3.8 millimeter, we can't recommend this light class material. Here, in that case, we have to go for this medium, 4.05. Okay, and if anybody asks, sir, if I use this heavy 4.85, no problem. But that is unnecessarily a wastage of material. The material will be, the component will become heavier here, and it won't be economical also. Okay, so it is just a wastage of material. So it is enough for us 4.05. Yeah, so with this 3.8, you can recommend this 4.05, but not 3.65 with this. Understood this concept? Okay, Yeah, so is that clear? What is the shape stress? What is the yield stress and all these things? You can't do this calculation with the help of this yield stress. If the spectroscopy would have not been given here, so in that case you can do this calculation on the basis of this yield stress, but then also in actual design, not for solving the sum, but in actual design, it is always better to use the factor of safety to minimize the risk factor. Okay, understood? Now here, for example, suppose our factor of safety, we have considered it as a 1.75. Okay, and if I use this 3.65 lightweight, which is safe, okay, which is safe, I require this much only. With this factor of safety, I use more than that, 3.65. In that case, accidentally, instead of 140 kilonewton, even if I apply 150 kilonewton load, here it will not fail, it will remain safe. Yes, because we have considered the factor of safety. Okay, but if you don't use the factor of safety, you won't get this margin. Understood? Okay, next sum number 3. Sum number 3, very simple sum, just calculations. And on the basis of this sum number 3, we have to do our experiments. Tensile test will be based on this sum number 3 only. What is given? The following results to a tensile test bar. During the tensile test, here on a particular bar, the following readings are observed. The diameter of the steel bar, that is the original diameter, which is equal to 22 millimeter. It is the original diameter. The gauge length, that is the original length, it is known as the gauge length, which is equal to 200 millimeter. Then load at the yield point load, where the yielding starts. So yielding starts at a load of 88 kilonewton. The maximum load during the test, it is observed at 135 kilonewton. The load at the failure point, which is equal to 112 kilonewton. And total elongation after the failure of that particular component, when that component is failed, here in this gauge length, how much is the elongation? That elongation is given. Final length is not given, elongation is given. Total elongation over this 200 millimeter length is 60 millimeter at the time of failure. Elongation up to the maximum load, elongation up to the maximum load कितना है? Here the change in length up to maximum load. This is the elongation at the time of failure. Elongation at the maximum load is 47 millimeter. Area of reduced cross section at the fracture, ये जब fracture होगा, ये जब fail होगा, okay? So how much is the reduced cross sectional area? The reduced cross sectional area is 200 millimeter square. Okay. Reduced cross sectional area, which is equal to 200 millimeter square. Area of reduced section at fracture. Okay. Listen, there is small wording difference is there. I have written here reduced cross sectional area. Means this much cross sectional area is reduced, but it is not like that. It is the area of reduced cross section. Area of reduced cross section at fracture. Means we can say that this is the final cross sectional area. It is the final cross sectional area. Means how much cross sectional area is reduced? This original cross sectional area minus this final cross sectional area will give the reduced cross sectional area. Yesterday I told you the two formulas here on which we can decide the ductility. Yes, so ductility depends on the two factors. One is the percentage reduction in area and the percentage elongation. These are the two factors on which the ductility depends. Yesterday I told you that if these both the factors, percentage reduction in area and percentage elongation, If it is greater than 30%, we can say that the material is ductile. If it is less than 30%, we can say that the material is brittle. Okay, so this is the final cross-sectional area. This 200 millimeter square is the final cross-sectional area. Okay, what we have to calculate? We have to calculate the tensile stress at the yield point. Very simple sum is there. All explanation is already done. Okay, we have to calculate the stress at the yield point. How we can calculate the stress at yield point? Stress at yield point is the load at yield point upon cross-sectional area. Just put the value, you will get the answer. If you substitute the P in kilonewton and area, this is the original area, this area. So area equal to pi by 4 into 22 square. This is the original area. Okay, if you substitute that P in kilonewton and area in millimeter square, you will get the answer in kilonewton per millimeter square. If you take P in Newton, write the unit accordingly, Newton per millimeter square. Okay, here what student do? They take the P in kilonewton, area in millimeter square and calculate it. Number is correct, but write the unit Newton per millimeter square. Okay, so with that number and this unit, answer is wrong. Okay, so this number, quantity as well as unit, both should be proper. Okay, so this is the yield stress, tensile stress at the yield point. Then ultimate stress, second, ultimate stress. Ultimate stress equal to the maximum load upon original cross-sectional area, will get the ultimate stress. Third one, percentage increase in the length. Percentage increase in length. This is at the time of failure, which is equal to the change in length at the time of failure, that is final length minus initial length upon initial length into 100. Okay, and this final length minus initial length will give the change in length. Change in length upon original length into 100. From this one you will get the percentage increase in the length. If it is greater than 30%, the material is ductile. Okay. Next one, percentage reduction in area. Percentage reduction in area. Fourth point I am writing here. Percentage reduction in area, which is equal to initial area minus final area upon initial area into 100. Everything is given to you, just substitute and get the answer. This percentage increase in length, there won't be any unit. Here also there won't be any unit. Okay, in our first experiment we have to calculate all this percentage increase in the length, percentage reduction in area, and from that one we have to conclude that whether the given material is ductile or brittle. Okay, to decide whether the given material is ductile or brittle is just by observation, by observing the failure pattern of the material. With the help of that also we can decide whether the material is a ductile or brittle, or by this calculation also we can find. Here you will observe that this is the ductile material, there is a neck formation and finally it failed, means the area of cross section reduced. But in case of the brittle material, the area won't reduce, directly there is a failure. Okay, any doubt? Now we'll stop here. Okay, today these three sums here you have to solve properly, make the PDF here and see on your Google Classroom. Here I will write it as a homework 1. Okay, I'll assign it as a homework 1, and against that homework 1 you have to send the PDF of this. Okay, while sending the PDF you have to write your roll number, okay, A and your roll number, or B or C, your division C for civil, okay, your roll number and name, and send it. Okay, thank you, we'll stop here.